Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew on a Sunday. Well, this is part 3 of 3 of whatever happened to the Liberty Legion, the home front heroes of World War II, who were formed to fight the invaders, Captain America, Torch, Toro, and Submariner back in World War II. And after the invaders were hypnotized by the Red Skull and destroying American weapons manufacturing plants. But after it all worked out, the Liberty Legion decided to stay together for a while. And I was really disappointed we didn't get more of them. It was only 2 issues of Marvel premiere where they fought the invaders. And there was a third invader story that was going to be probably in Marvel premiere, maybe their first issue of their own title, but it never happened. And pages of it were chopped up and used in a couple of later Invaders issues. So that's a drag. But so his first appearance of Red Raven since him retroactively, but in reality, this is the first appearance of Red Raven since the first issue of Red Raven, first and only issue where Jack Kirby did the cover, and the character looked completely different. He was just different. He had like bat wings and such. And what's funny is, around 1962 or so, they had a Red Raven, but it was just some guy with wings. I covered this on my other channel, which is called Random Comics from My Spinner Rack. Beautiful cover. Don Heck. And love the design. Those wings are 100% Marie Severin redraws. It just has her kind of feel to it. This is the first appearance of the Red Raven since 1940 or so. And Roy, the boy, Thomas loved all the Golden Age heroes, and he brought them back, and he would tweak them and improve them and such. So I'm guessing he may have designed that. Maybe I'm wrong, because he did do some designs. You know, he did Union Jack, which is one of the best costumes ever. So this is Gary Frederick on the who's the writer, and Don Heck. Werner Roth is working over Don Heck layouts. It's inked by John Tartaglione, and you know what? It's a really nice combination, I think. So what happens is the X-Men are. If only I didn't bite my fingernails. There. The X-Men are held captive by Magneto. So the Angel manages to get out, and he's like, I'll get you loose. No, this must be some sort of trap. Okay, so take off, Birdman. Head for the Avengers HQ. If they can't help us, nobody can. So Angel leaves. There's a brief time where Quicksilver could fly by kicking his legs. Even as a kid, I thought that was kind of dumb. I just don't see it. So there's a huge storm that Angel's flying through, and he's exhausted because he's fighting it with his wings. So he's just hanging on, and all of a sudden, an island is born. And no, he didn't lay an egg. This is incredible. I've witnessed birth of an island, and there's no time to... What's that? A huge metal door opening. And I like that face there. Really great. It comes across as machinery. This is wild. This is like something out of a Ray Bradbury novel. But here comes Red Raven. You will notify no one, Earthling, unless you would first defeat Red Raven. I love these pages. And my favorite page of the issue by far is that. Wow. This is Don Heck layouts with Werner Roth, and it's a winning team. Wait, before this needless battle continues, that I started, I ask that you hear me. You jokers are all like, the minute things don't go against you, you're suddenly ready to go to the conference table. But since I know I can lick your weight in hobbits any day, I'll lend an ear. That's a tad awkward. But speaking of hobbits, Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of Lord of the Rings references that Roy added to certain scripts. That was like the Harry Potter of its day. It really was huge. I mean, it's still huge to this day, but back then, it was one of those. It was a Harry Potter of its day. I don't have to explain it anymore. What am I doing? Huh? So Red Raven tells his origin story. When I was but just a tiny child, my parents were on a flight to the United States from a former home in Europe, which flew to a violent storm. The last report from the plane stated that it was flying out into dense cloud formation. What men could never know was that the aircraft had finally crash landed on the domain of the bird people, which existed on an island in the sky. So the only one who lives is the baby, and bird people raise them. So for a time they were planning to attack Earth, but they wanted to wait a while until they knew certain that they could defeat the land dwellers. So Red Raven tried to talk them out of it, and so what he did is he put them all in suspended animation with some gas. Until a day 20 years later when they would automatically be awakened. And now, my friend, that moment is upon us. For all these many years, I had only to await the men's awakening, and now that it's upon us. Therefore, for the benefit of mankind, I must sink the island and start the cycle of suspended animation all over again. Otherwise, Earth may be doomed. But you can't condemn all this. It's too important. I think what men might learn from studying your people. I've considered that. And he blasts Angel. It takes off. Now, here's the thing. The motivation of Red Raven, it comes and goes. It's like the island comes up. Red Raven, he just he ends up. There was a date, a time, 20 years that they would be in suspended animation, and he was awake the whole time. So he decides, well, I better put him back under because they're going to start a lot of trouble. And he does the same thing to himself. It's very odd that when you look back on it, the motivation is very oblique. It's kind of simple, really. Not much of a story, per se. Red Raven, again, shows up to fight Submariner. It seems kind of like a lopsided battle because Namor can slug it out with the Hulk. And Red Raven he's stronger than the average man, but again, Roy Thomas bringing back Red Raven. Sal Buscema, inked by Joe Gaudioso, which is Mike Esposito's pseudonym. At the time, there were a lot of people using pseudonyms who were working for both Marvel and DC, because especially DC was stodgy. And Neil Adams was the first guy to use his actual name for both companies. So even though it's Sal Buscema, that's a Maurice Severin panel there. So there's some tweaks in there that maybe Stan wanted, I don't know. But it's unusual for John Buscema or Sal Buscema to have any changes. Red Raven. Hang on. Here's the part where we focus. He looks so proud, so regal. Truly he and Namor are born to be allies against the reckless folly of the Serpent's Men. So, Thor's vitalizer may be small, but it can overcome the death, which is not death. Love that dramatic imagery. So he explains all this stuff all over again. And somehow he ended up bobbing on the surface after a sea quake. Well, what better way to learn more of the race that spawned me? And I did learn, as I lay here, Namor, I learned much. I didn't say that to be, it's like, you snarl those words. You snarl those words like a man in the throes of hatred. He's like, we're going to inherit the earth. Now that you woke me up, I'm pissed. I don't know why he changed his mind, but back then, that just happened sometimes. I mean, a lot of times you just write a comic month to month. Must destroy the Atlantean. Wow. Man, that hurts. Rise, ring ones! Rise, ringed ones! See how they slumped to their knees? They are dead. They are dead, perished years ago. Their bodies preserved, but not their lives. I killed them. I, the Red Raven. So that was it for him for a time, and we wouldn't see him again until until that Invaders story that I had mentioned came out in '76. However, the actual Red Raven, or the modern one, they brought him back an issue of Defenders that came out about 2000, which was Kurt Busiek and Eric Larson's short-lived Defenders series. But anything after 1996, continuity just got damaged beyond repair, because you had the Clone Saga, all these other awful stories that, and then let's not talk about what J. Michael Straczynski did with Norman Osborn, Gwen Stacy. So, Blue Diamond, he and his almonds are fighting Stardancer. This is Marvel 2-in-1 shortly before the book really got crappy. Ron Wilson's drawing and Tom DeFalco does the writing, and they would remain on the book until issue 100. Issue 1, no, 99 was Bill Mantlo and Bob Hall, and then the last one was John Byrne with Ron Wilson. So Stardancer, a new cosmic character. At the time, this is 1981, Stan Lee had this edict that no one will write the Silver Surfer except him, which is kind of funny considering that Jack Kirby's the one who created Silver Surfer. But, that's just splitting hairs at the moment, just for the sake of this video. I'm not going to go into it. Whoop. And I was always a fan of Marvel 2-in-1, but that last year especially was just a chore to get through. And but it was, even though it got canceled issue 100, I wish I had stayed a team-up book. Okay, move on, Drew. So Tom DeFalco and Ron Wilson came up with their version of the Silver Surfer, and I actually kind of dig it. I actually think it's a pretty clever idea, and I haven't researched on where she's shown up since, only because I'm focusing on the Liberty Legion right now. So she is this cosmic dancer. I guess maybe Tom DeFalco likes Mark Bolan, and so she leaves her planet. She's got the power cosmic, and they don't quite describe why. Apparently everybody does on her planet, and she left to pursue something fun, I guess. Yet I was filled with a hungering, a yearning, a strange disquietude. That's a good word, disquietude. But without using a roadmap or not marking her way. So she's lost. She's trying to find something interesting to do. But then she gets... this is kind of funny. Wait, even as I speak, my matrix sense tingles like a beacon. It draws me to yon distant world. And it's Earth. That's nice lay out there. Wait, where is this exactly? Oh. This is in Huntsville, Massachusetts. Wow. Those are the kind of tales you hate inking. So the thing gets pissed off because this guy doesn't know that Alicia's blind and she's touching the merchandise. And typically, of the time, Ben overreacts. He puts this giant tree, uproots it, and puts it in front of the guy's, not only his display, but others. And we see, peering through the window, is an old man. For hours I have stood by the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, anxious to see one of the world's greatest heroes. How I envy him. I bet a big shot like Ben Grimm wouldn't care less about the admiration and envy of a retired old anthropologist, a nobody like Elton T. Morrow. So essentially, his wife had passed on. He's kind of bitter, and he hasn't really been a super in a long time. And explains as such. He actually went back to studying. He just was a very voracious reader and learner of things. He was an anthropologist before. So I like this. He has a mirror and he's using his finger to scratch the mirror because he's got the density of a diamond, hence his name. So anyway, Star Dancer. Step and kick and so she forms this impregnable shield around the town, and everybody, the people inside the town, attack Alicia because they think it was because of this monster came along, which was Ben Grimm. So we better not take chances with her. So mob mentality kicks in. The thing fishing, that's so fun. He's trying to break in. What's wrong with me? I never lost my superpowers, but I'm almost 76 years old. My heart isn't what it used to be. The excitement and the strain can kill me, yet an innocent life is at stake. So Ben does his thing. This is a nice Ron Wilson page. Chick Stone doing some decent inks on here. I mean, it's very cartoonish. It's very coloring book-ish. But it's still, for Ben Grimm, he's one of the most cartoony characters in comics in a good way. And thankfully, in Fantastic Four First Steps, they finally got the thing right. And so Cosmic Dancer spins around, and oh, she's scanning for a worthy specimen. Sorry about that. Blue Diamond comes out. Ah, my heart. So Ben gets into a slobber knocker battle with Cosmic Dancer. The poses are really good. I wonder if Ron had to have some photos reference for dancers, because that's just really, really hard to draw, I would imagine, without reference. So Blue Diamond's just sitting back. He's all with his heart and everything. He tells... Oh, he gets up. He gets scanned. I jumped back. I'm so sorry. Grimm, I know how to stop her. So he says, hurry, my body possesses the density of a diamond and hardest natural substance known to man. Use me as a weapon. Bing! So she senses whatever she's looking for in him, and she turns him into a solid diamond, and he's got no purpose in life, so they take off together. Hold me closer, Cosmic Dancer. So that's, to my knowledge, the final fate of the Blue Diamond. I'm not going to go over her because, like I said, I digress enough in this show. So, next one. I'm doing these in actual chronological order of publication. So, let's go to... Oh, these epic collections. I just... reprints a lot of the J.M. DeMatteis, Mike Zeck, John Beatty era. How about that for a cover? Look at all that detail. Look how, man, they should have made like a, I don't know, a huge poster out of it, or a promotional poster. They did do one for a couple issues later with Deathlock. So you got Kip DeMulder doing an inks over Samhain. It's pretty good. So there's a main story, and as a B story, there's a guy dying in a hospital bed, and it's like the man has cancer, nurse. He knows the hours of on this earth are numbered, and if you want to see Captain America before his last breath is drawn, then blast it, we're going to find him. It's the least we can do for a man who was once known as the Patriot. The all-new Porcupine. Pretty cool, except he got killed about 30 or so issues later. Man, I would love to ink a Sal Buscema comic. But he's retired. So, Cap gets a call over the phone. I like that face that DeMulder did. So, it's the old friend I told you about, Bernie. He needs me. So, nobody else in the group besides his girlfriend, Bernie Rosenthal, knows he's Cap. So Cap's interrupted by the Porcupine. Excuse me, partner. I'll leave him in your very capable hands. Believe me, you can handle it. You know what? Maybe I can. So he reassures a nomad. Dr. Hamer, am I late? Frankly, Captain, you should be, but it's as if Jeff has been forcibly holding on, waiting for you to arrive. Cap, you made it. Of course I did, old soldier. Tell me, Jeff, is there much pain? Are you afraid? I'm beyond the pain, Cap, beyond the fear. I'm ready to let go. It's been a good life. Very good life, a full life. And I know there are dear friends waiting for me on the other side. But before I move on, Cap, I have to tell you how much I know, Jeff, I know. Goodbye, old soldier. Really touching, really nice. Okay, then we go to another Captain America Epic Collection. They have all the Mark Gruenwald books reprinted, and they're doing like a third omnibus. Only thing is, the very last Epic Collection that should be coming out, because they come out in a different order, the Epic Collections, which is really clever on Marvel's part. The very last year of Mark Gruenwald's run on Cap is yet to be printed in Epic form, and I've looked ahead like a year and it's still not being offered, so I'm just fit to burst. So, this was an excellent story, Streets of Poison. So, Attack of the Ice Worm. It's Ron Lim, another guy. I've inked him on certain products for Marvel that, like the Guardians of the Galaxy coloring books or artwork that have been repurposed for packaging, for toys and such. But I've never done a comic book with him. I've always wanted to do that. So Cap's doing his workout. He's flashing back. He's doing that back flashing thing. So this guy D-Man, Demolition Man, who was a pal, he was a pal and a brief partner of Captain America's. Everybody goofs on D-Man, but he was a former Unlimited class wrestler, and he had a Daredevil costume from issue 1 with a Wolverine mask, and everybody dismisses him. But I thought he was kind of neat. He was a very smart guy, very dedicated. But so what happened was Cap he went to similar to Cap's background, there are people worshiping this man in ice, and he's like, well, my word, D-Man, we were just, because that's where Cap took D-Man and they fought Flag Smasher. So he takes off in search of his pal. And the ice cracks. I love that. The Ice Worm. Nice colors. How about that? Really nice. Let's see. Let's give some shout out to Steve Buccellato. I haven't seen a lot of his work, but beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. So he kept fighting the Ice Worm. It's up underwater. He's about to freeze and he's going to get stuck in the ice again. Jack Frost, we met before, but back during the war, you were with the Liberty Legion. What happened? You revived me, Captain. Your body warmth was just enough to jar me out of the state of suspended animation. I was in the belly of the beast. Then, using your shield, I ripped through the worm's belly and pulled us free. So the Ice Worm again comes out. Jack Frost is riding its tail. If I only had left my sky cycle so far from here, I'd have something heavier to bounce against the creature's icy hide than my shield. Blast, didn't do any good. It's thrashing around, getting weaker. Jack must be chilling down its heart, like he said he did last time. Jack, you noble fool, we might have found another way. I could dive right in, but I don't think the kind of strength it would take to... But I don't have the kind of strength it would take to make it disgorge its tail. Well, old-timer, in a way you were right. You did take a sacrifice to appease the monster. And that's the last we see of him. But I had looked up information that in this calendar year, 2025, in an issue of Scarlet Witch, it was revealed that he was a child of an ice giant from Norse mythology, and that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So next we have the Thin Man, who was he was like Plastic Man essentially. Oh, I gotta move some stuff around. Everything's in my way. So I had posted an episode of this where the Invaders just could not get. They just don't stand a chance of succeeding as a series, and it makes me crazy. Here. So this guy here with the mask, that is the new Thin Man, and that's his costume. And he has this battleship called the Infiltrator, and it could travel through multi-dimensional space for long distances. And basically, it was to prevent terrorism, and like active terrorism as it happens across the globe. But it was sacrificed. Oh, Scott Collins covers it great. The inside's by C.P. Smith, and this is very early stuff because C.P. Smith tried to be a really great artist, but this was all very, very just photo captured, like to the point of being, stuck on ice, so to speak. That's beautiful there. But yeah, it's very awkward, but like I said, C.P. became really good. So what happens is that Infiltrator, it was sacrificed by ramming into a doomsday weapon. Now that's really great there. And it was essentially to protect the world from U-Man, which is a character from... it's like a play on words for U-boat. And it was a character that Roy Thomas created. So apparently U-Man came back and he had a lot of armory and such to actually take over the surface world. So, and the Thin Man, actually, he did not die. He decided to go underground. I'm going to feel for the original Torch. I'm like, come on. You know he's going to come back. Well, what happens is the Thin Man disappears. They don't know what happened to him. Ooh, good thing this is thick paper. I know everybody's like screeching right now. He goes, I've been told you've been selling children here. And he goes to fight the trafficking of kids, and he has a low profile, and that's a really great idea. And there we go. Easy now, easy. Watch now. Bule. See at the end. You know what? There's so much more going on. I'm not going to go into it. This video will be... I pretty much informed you what's going on. Now, the most complicated one is the Wizard. And everybody goes, ha, the Wizard. And I didn't think anything about it because when I was a kid, I always said Whistler, like a Twizzler. Like my favorite candy. So first appearance of the All-Winter Squad, I think in the Silver or Bronze Age. Other than a reprint, there was a book called Fantasy Masterpieces that lasted about 10 issues and became Marvel Superheroes. But it had a lot of reprints, and it had some of the All-Winter Squad, but there were no... this is the first appearance, I think... Oh yeah, it's first appearance of Wizard and Miss America, sorta after a fashion. So, beautiful John Romita cover. What other cover does he do? They're all beautiful. Roy Thomas wrote this. He and Steve Englehart sorta got into a big argument minute about this because Steve Englehart was on the book for a couple of years. He did the Avengers Defenders War, and when Giant Size, the Giant Size format came about, Roy Thomas insisted on writing it. And Steve's like, hey, I've been on this book a while. I helped the numbers sell the book better. And Roy's like, look, I've done Avengers a lot of years, and I deserve to do it. So that's what happened. This is throwback art by Rich Buckler and Dan Adkins. Really nice stuff. Very, of course, very Kirby-ish. And I've described this in the past. That depending on the assignment, the Buckler would get his Kirby out. Somebody showed up. Okay, and he must be after the time capsule. But there's no description of the time capsule or why it's there. Captain America, if any Avenger had to discover me before I dismembered the chrono module, thank heaven it's you. I thought I was home free once I'd taken care of your butler, but when I'd heard Jarvis, you 2-bit second story man, if you've heard him, he never knew what hit him, and come tomorrow he'll feel nothing more than a headache and a few regrets. So, your voice, listen, you better come along with, you're not him, you're not Captain America at all, so you can go to the devil. And there goes the wizard. But a skeptical Iron Man says, look, I've battled the Clown as one of the characters of the Squadron Sinister. One thing left is the Vision, and who turns air material, and Wizard just buries his face in computers and walls and shit. Why are you after the chrono module? Let's see. By Odin, I forgot there was such a member of a superhero group called the All-Winter Squad, was he not? I'd say our computer... So say our computer files. Now I know the truth. The Captain America alongside who I fought was not the true one, but a replacement. Alongside whom? Then you claim nothing. I am the original wizard. Listen to me. I don't have much time. And again, this is kind of odd because he did fight in the All-Winter Squad with the Captain America that was Spirit of 76, and then the Patriot took over the costume, and much 2 years later, Roy did the Liberty Legion, where Legion met the real Cap. But that's, again, this is kind of going backwards a little bit as this story progresses about the Wizard. His background tends to look at that. It tends to, how can I think of it? Retro fits a lot of that's the word. Retcon, that's the word. So he talks about the All-Winter Squad, their adventure based on the actual comics. And so what happens is Wizard and Miss America got married. After the wedding, Madeline, revealed our secret identities to the government and acted as non-costumed yet superpowered bodyguards of a certain nuclear project. And one night in 1949, it happened. The explosion. Matt and I came running. Stay back. Only Bob and I can handle this. They plunge in. They find the... Oh. Okay. Again, this is exhausting. The Wizard has a more complicated backstory than all of the other Liberty Legion characters combined. It turns out the radiation affected the child that Wizard and Miss America would have. He had radiation, like he was oozing radiation, so they put him in a time capsule. And finally showed up. Hurry. And here is baby boy. That's my son. Another text page by Roy, Reliable Roy. I almost wish Roy did a text page in every single comic he ever read because he ever wrote, because he had a memory like steel. He just has so much cool information. Yes, that's right. My wife was pregnant when we both leaped into the atomic inferno. Probably not the best idea. But nuclear radiation can do some things to someone as helpless as an unborn child. Good Lord, it's a baby, but so ugly, misshapen. God help us, it's glowing. So it's emitting dangerous radiation. Put them away for 25 years. Which is sort of interesting because it sort of parallels Red Raven's post World War II storyline. Here's where things start to get kooky. Waiting to ask if your European travels ever, after your son's birth, took you to a place called Wundagore. Why? How do you know? It was a small village that we heard that magic name. Somehow very proud of its promised security, peace. And here comes High Evolutionary. Say no more. You are my guests. I see that you are with child, Mrs. Frank. Well, we have room here. We're grateful. Look on the mountain, a flashing light. Here's your children. Twins. Wait, Pietro and Wanda, you're my father. And here's the thing. I read this a few times, and they had Nucleo, and then allegedly they had a second child who was also twins. I mean, how does a pregnant couple not know the wife has twins? So here's Bova, a character, talking cow, High Evolutionary transformed. So for a time, it's believed that Whizzer is, there's that Kirby face, it's believed that Whizzer is actually the parents of Wanda and Pietro. No, not so. This is a handy little trade because it has the Vision Scarlet Witch miniseries reprinted, which was done by a young Rick Leonardi and inked by Ian Aiken and Brian Garvey, who I just love. Bill Mantlo, he's everywhere, and I've always loved his stuff. First time I ever seen that kind of thing happen to the to the Vision, because now it's so commonplace. You know, they get bloody and all cut up and such, but that was pretty wild that his hand got melted. How about this stuff on the inks? Very orderly. He was very inspired by Michael Golden, who sort of brought that style into being. So Leonardi probably hated it because Leonardi's later style was very much the opposite. It was a lot looser, but I think it's great. And compared to the Hulk Annual number 10, which was kind of not the best, you know, he was still a new kid on the block. And right there where Scarlet Witch is hugging the Vision, see those lines on the cape? Well, they're called tapers, and they're done in a very orderly fashion, almost like a picket fence. Now, I learned that because Brian Stelfreeze and Jason Pearson and Dave Johnson, who I assisted before I broke into comics, that's how they rendered stuff. And I think it was more of a Brian Stelfreeze thing. And also Patrick Nagel, the guy who did the cover of Rio for Duran Duran, that same kind of face was used in every hair salon in the 80s. But it's still, you know, because it's a cool image. Espasa shows up again. I mentioned him earlier. Okay. Strap in. Here we go. It doesn't seem possible. It's too much like a dream. And I've seen all the dreams become nightmares. And the day the Wizard and Miss America quit the All-Winter Squad and Madeline Joyce changed her name to Mrs. Robert Frank. But instead, we both took jobs at the nuclear project. Then there was a meltdown, and child Nucleo, who was horribly genetically mutated and radioactive. Yes, Wanda and Pietro. Wait a minute. We told Madeline the child died, but in reality, I agreed to have my son sealed in a time capsule. You had two children, other children, did you not? Yes, Wanda and Pietro, and their births caused Madeline's death. In my grief, I left with their non-human midwife of Wundagore. Now, that was something that was added from Giant Size Adventures. Bill was always pulling stuff together. And he dies fighting... if only Robert Frank had lived to see Nucleo being back to normal. Father? Yes. Robert Frank was your father. Though he denied responsibility for years, he learned in the end, in time, to pass that lesson of love onto his only begotten son. I'm going to add here that in the final issue, a thinly disguised Magneto, from his verbiage, shows up, and he's looking for the children that his dead wife Magda had. And she's like, you came too late, I gave him away. Says, young she was and beautiful, terrified of something she at first refused to speak about. Something about threatened the children she was carrying. A woman's name? Yes, her name was Magda. So the children lived, and he becomes a dick and threatens Bova, even though she hasn't done anything wrong. How about the effect on the grain, the wood grain? Boy, oh boy. A lot of contrasting ink styles, and I dig it. I dig it. So we find out that here comes Magneto. Oh, I love that page. I love that image. Very classic. I remember hating that the costume they gave Magneto in like issue 200 of X-Men, where he just had this big old M and this big old... It was like a muumuu he wore with no sleeves. Really cool stuff. Can't you see you're scaring my child? It says Crystal, who was married to Quicksilver, and they had a baby together. Luna, my niece. The babe, yes, the fighting born out of past animosities shall cease. Such enmities are ancient history. This child presents a new order of things. Harm her not, Magneto, or harm her, harm the swaddled innocent, the harbinger of hope. The master of magnetism would sooner embrace the eternal unknown than to allow grief to cross the life of his granddaughter. What could it be? What? No Vision. It has to be a lie. The villain mouths. It must be. And yet, have you ever noticed, Pietro, how you yourself, Magneto, looks like? And how like your mother, Magda. You have grown, my lovely Wanda. My mother? This is 1983, by the way. And it turns out that he is the father of Wanda and Pietro. And that was a really big thing, because for many years, there was that Robert Frank guy, Whizzer, and Miss America, who were told that they were children, or that Wanda and Pietro were their children. And this was big doings. And what's great is there wasn't like an event that showed it. It was just this humble little mini-series. And it was the wrap-up. And, I was agape with fanboy wonder. So, and that's it pretty much. I don't know if there's any more that really goes on. That's pretty much it. Actually, between Robert Frank, after Robert Frank pussed out and left, there was a guy who he was a Roma. Is that the phrase they use? I apologize.